11 people on. I'm sure more will jump on, but this is a good starting point, just 3 minutes after the hours. So, and we have some new people. So, welcome. Keep in mind that this is completely interactive, not formal. So, ask questions or use the chat box. And for the best results and able to watch Miss Kayla do her demonstrations, put it on speaker view. And Kayla, thanks for your ongoing just commitment to making us all more sparkly.
To what I can do. So hey, I'm awkward, but hello for the new people. I'm Kayla. Nice to meet you. I'm gonna do 2 different types of beach waves today. One is gonna be a flat iron wave, and the other one is gonna be a curling iron wave. Because typically people have either one or both of these things. So I want to make sure that you guys know how to do it with whatever instrument you have access to. Pardon me while I realize I forgot something. There we go. Okay. So I'm going to start with products. Her hair has already been dried with a few of my go-to Unite blowout products. If you guys weren't here for the blowout, I usually use a 7 seconds detangler, conditioner leave-in, and then I blow out with a blowout cream, which is really good for protecting your hair from heat. It's a good starting point, especially if you're blow drying your hair with only the blow dryer, because the blow dryer, the heat from that will also damage your hair. But when I get into thermal styling, I move over to this product, which is called the glossing spray. It's a thermal protectant, UV protectant, and an anti-humectant. And most of you guys are in Texas, so you know how important that is. So I'm going to start with that just to protect her hair from the heat I'm about to put on it. And I go section by section with this. Now, whenever you're curling or flat ironing your own hair, sectioning it out is pretty important. Go off of your natural part. She's going to have a center part today because she's feeling sassy, but wherever you part your hair, part it there, and then part it again just before your ear. So I'll show you what that looks like real quick. So I've got her hair all natural part, and then take this section right here just before the ear. For her it's right after the ear because mannequin heads are shaped weird, but go just right where your ear tip is and go right there, right down.
Does this parting work for thick hair too? This is one of the questions in the chat box. I mean, is it the same segment regardless of how much hair you have?
Yes. So your ear is really a good milestone for how you're going to curl your hair. If you have a really, really thick hair, you might want to go slightly before your ear, but using either, if it's very thin, like this one, go slightly behind the ear. If it's extremely thick, you can either go like on top of or just before your ear. Just make sure that this front section is separated from the back. A good pinpoint is this little spot right here on the top of your head, like right here. We call this the apex. It's just a very like middle spot on your head, and go down from there to your ear. Section that out because we curl this differently than we curl the rest of your hair. So I'm going to do this half and half. Normally what I would do is this entire back section would be sectioned into one piece. I'm splitting it down the middle just so that I can show you the difference between flat iron and the curling iron waves. But typically all of this would just be one section. So going from there, whenever you're doing your own hair, having control is very important, because a lot of times you're sort of groping back there blindly and you can't see what you're doing. So take with your fingers, feel out about a 1-inch section like this. It may be a little jagged, but that'll be okay. It'll blend in. Pull that out and then clip the rest of it up so that it's out of the way. That way, whenever you're going through to curl your hair, you can kind of go back and scoop just about a 1-inch section, and you can feel the control in that. So I'm going to do this with flat iron first. Flat iron curls are typically the most difficult to do on your own hair, but whenever you've got it sectioned well and you have small enough pieces to work with, it can be pretty simple. So what I like to do, particularly on other people's hair, is to go back and forth with these. That gives it a little bit more of an organic, lived-in feel. Whenever you pull your flat iron back like this, hold it up with the tail end like that. Hold your hair out where you can see it, clamp down, and twist your curling iron. You don't have to spin it all the way around, and pull it down. I'm going to put this in, bring this in a little closer so that you guys can see exactly what I'm doing. Same thing, just grab another inch of hair, take that flat iron, clamp it, and twist, and then just slide it down. Now these curls look a lot tighter before you break them up, but that's good because especially if you have stubborn hair, that's going to keep it from falling out too quickly. Once again, clamp, slide down. And you're going to want to do that in 1-inch sections all the way up to the end of your section, to the end of this big section back here. Let me know if you guys need a different angle.
When you're clamping and you're bringing it down, yours seems to be a lot more smoother than mine. Mine seems to get a little more stuck.
A little more jagged? Are you, so that might be one because of whatever product you're using. If you're using hairspray in your hair, sometimes it can make it a little tacky. Also, certain textures, certain hair, particularly like highlighted or colored hair, can have that little bit of a jerk effect. Is that what you're talking about? Yeah. Turn down the heat on your flat iron and just try not to pinch it very hard because that happens to me too in the salon all the time. And I just turn down the heat and I just sort of lightly clamp. And if it gets stuck, just release the heat and then bring it back. That way you don't get stuck in one spot for too long. And it may leave like a little kink in your hair, but it's safer than like damaging to like very fine blonde hair, because blonde hair can be damaged before you go into it with the heat. So just, yeah, slide it down and I'll show you kind of what that looks like. Like if it gets stuck, just like right there. So say I'm here and it starts getting jammed, I'll unclamp it, slide down just a little bit, and then clamp it again. And it leaves just a slightly tiny bit of a straighter piece right here, but it's safer. Does that make sense? And as you can see, like the curls are kind of going back and forth like that. They look a little ringlety right now, but when I break them up, that back and forth motion gives it a really natural beachy look. And if your hair is really, really stubborn, one thing that you can do to keep your curls in, say that your beach waves fall out really fast. One thing that you can do is take the curling iron, twist it all the way around, and pull it out instead of down. And that'll make the curl tighter. And the tighter the curl, the longer it's gonna last. Get a little like ringlet there. Another thing that I'm doing, you don't have to do this to make the curl bounce, but if you can, which way that you turn your flat iron, if you scoop it around your finger and curl your hair around your finger in the same motion, it'll define that curl and help it set a little better.
I'm with you. Sarah said it looks easy when she does it. I was just thinking, this has a hot mess written all over it for me.
Honestly, it's really just about keeping clean sections. If you keep a 1-inch section all the way up, and also having a mirror that can look behind your head helps a lot, but those sections really save a lot of pain. So for the front of your hair, this section before your ear, what you're gonna wanna do is all these curls, you know how I was doing them back and forth in the back? You're gonna want them all to go back away from your face. It'll blend out with the rest of those curls in the back once you break them up, but keeping the curls, particularly around your hairline, away from your face, it opens up your face, statistically, it makes you look younger, opens up your face, it's more pleasant to look at. You always want the curls around your face to go back away from it. The way that you do that is just the same thing, holding it down and then twisting it back instead of forward. And you don't even have to do like a full 180 twist. If just enough is enough. And sliding it down helps it to look a little bit more beachy, a little less ringlety, a little more relaxed.
So down to look more beachy and relaxed, and straight out if you have trouble keeping it curled.
Yep, exactly. And if you want a lot of volume, what you can do, or if you want a lot of volume, or if you're going for kind of a glam look, you can do the same technique, but instead of going down or out, you can go straight up. And this also works on beach waves if you struggle with volume. You see how it like lifts it up off the root? That gives you that really big bouncy Hollywood curl if you do that all over your head. Basically, the more volume you want, the more you want to go opposite of the way that your root is growing. So if you want a lot of volume and your root is growing this way, go completely off of that, and then when it lays down, it'll force it off of your head.
That's a cool tip.
Super helpful if you're in Texas and you like volume. When I reach the top right here, a lot of people who like volume, I typically, instead of dragging it down, I do bring it up, because then when I break it up, it gives them a little extra bada boom. But but there are people who prefer to have no volume with their beach waves. They want it to look as natural as possible. So that's what it looks like in the front now when it's not broken up. It looks crazy and insane, but you got to trust the process. So I'm going to do the same thing on this side, but with the curling iron. I'll bring that over. 1 second. I'm at a want for outlets, so I'm having to make different shuffle. That's right here. And just like I did with that other section, you want to spray it with heat protectant first. I use this glossing spray because I hate humidity. Trying to find the perfect angle. There we are.
Hey, Kayla, two things. One, you're getting very good reviews as a natural online speaker, teacher. Another question, what straightener are you using?
I use the Hot Tools straightener. So most of the products that I own, like even are Hot Tools. You can find them at Sally's. I like them quite a bit.
Awesome. Do you know by chance what type of price point? Are they pricey?
They can be. I think the one that I bought, my flat iron was $40.
Okay, so that seems moderate compared to like the $200 ones.
Yeah, absolutely. And but also with that being said, those $200 ones are great, especially the new Dyson one that came out. But if you're using them as frequently as I do for my job, they will go bad long before I get my money's worth out of them. So I typically go for a line like Hot Tools, which is good and standard, but it's easy to replace when it dies.
Sounds perfect.
Being completely honest there. So for waves with a curling iron, this is a Marcel. It has a natural rotate to it, but you can lock that if you do get one. I know they can be a little complicated to flush with, but I'm used to the rolling, so it may look weird in some points. Just like the flat iron, you want to point it upside down, kind of like a wand. And then take your section and wrap it just like that around the wand. Hold it and keep those little ends out, because the little ends, when it comes to these type of curls, with the Marcel, keeping that end out keeps it a little more beachy, because these tend to look a little bit more curly. And then I pull it off, and you can see it's a little bit tighter. Just move that down. A little bit tighter than the flat iron curl. But it gives you a little bit more of a natural wave as opposed to the flat iron curl, especially if you have naturally wavy hair and you're just really just trying to touch it up. You can use this technique. Just grab those little pieces that are being stubborn. Just wind that B word around there. And then you have a little coil. And just leave these coils until never mind my arm tucking technique. I don't recommend it.
How How do you know what size barrel to get?
I typically go for a 1/2 inch barrel because I like the amount of control. If you have excessively long hair, going for like an inch barrel might be good, especially if you like looser curls. But this barrel is a half, and I feel like it for medium hair just below the shoulders, it gives you a curl that's not too insane and that you can kind of control. And then just like the other, I kind of twist it back and forth. Just to give a little bit more dimension in the curl. And the way to do this on your own head and the way to make it easier is really just to kind of feel out and force a clean section with your fingers. You might even want to clip the other bit of that section away to keep it out of the way. But as long as you can feel that you've got like a good like inch section in your hand, when you bring your wand down, you can wrap that around and not worry about catching other hairs and making a messy look. And with the wand, it takes a little bit longer than the flat iron, which is typically why I use the flat iron to begin with. Also, it helps to smooth out the hair as it goes down. But with the wand, you can get a little bit more of a like textured look because you can keep your natural texture in there.
What happens if you don't go down with the wand? You actually just keep it that way, like straight up. So
Like up and down like this?
Yes. Is there a difference with the curl?
For me, it's about control, but it's more because it's harder to slide the hair off of the wand whenever you have it up and down. Like, I'll show you. So when you have the wand up and down, let me know if you can see this clearly. It's easier to burn yourself. One, you have to wrap up, which pulls the curl in a weird direction away from your scalp so you don't get that natural like beach look. Kind of forces the root up. And then you pull down to pull this out, which can be hazardous.
Got it.
But as you can see, like the curl kind of curls up towards your head instead of down like it would. But you can get a little bit more volume if you do that. But for beach waves in particular, you usually want the wand to be down. I don't know if you guys can hear that, but I apologize. Apparently there are some people shouting outside.
We can't hear a thing. You were perfect.
Oh, good. Chicago. Using a heat glove, if you guys have a heat glove, you can find them on Amazon. It definitely helps save your fingers from this, but generally when you're doing beach waves, you want the little ends to be stuck out anyway. Do any of you guys have naturally wavy hair?
Me.
Yeah, me too. I was writing a question about that now.
So do you, when you're doing naturally wavy hair, using the, do you guys ever do the scrunch technique where you use a little bit of curl cream and then scrunch it into your hair and let your hair dry in a naturally like wavy texture?
Yeah, but it doesn't look like that. And I quote, I'm going to go with what Wizzy says. I do, but it looks very frizzy.
So when using something like the glossing spray, after you scrunch your hair and let it dry, helps to keep that texture because it's an anti-humectant. So using an anti-humectant when it's frizzy, and more importantly, using a good curl product. So I like the Boing Curl Enhancer, which is good. But using a curl product and then using a little anti-humectant afterwards will help with the frizziness. And then this particularly what I'm doing right here, if you have that natural curly hair and you scrunch it up in your hand and let it dry that way, most people have bits of their hair that just don't cooperate. And if you, this particular way of curling it, like you have all that natural beachy texture to begin with, if you go through and just find the hairs that are extra frizzy or extra uncooperative, and then bring in a few curls like this, when you break it up, it'll all blend out together and look a lot nicer.
You're a mind reader. I was halfway through asking that question.
That is exactly what I did to my hair today.
So then when so my hair is super curly in the back and almost straight in the front. So if I do the curly and scrunch it up and I use a diffuser to dry it, then would I use the glossing spray before I start that whole process, or after it's dry and the natural curls are in and before I put in my curly curls?
So you want it after you've got all your product in, after you've dried it. You want your hair to be like perfectly dry, ready to set. And
Okay.
then use it right before you use the thermal.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, my pleasure. It's a great product to help maintain the frizz in the hair that has been scrunched, and it'll also protect the hair in the front where you said you had the most trouble with it being straight.
Yeah. Okay.
But using a really tight, especially depending on how tight your curls are, even getting a wand that's like a 1/4 inch and going through and touching up some of the hair through the front will add in a few little accent curls to give the illusion that your hair just was born like this. And it also saves you the pain of having to curl your whole head.
Mostly my hair is incredibly straight because I don't have the patience to diffuse dry.
I totally sympathize with that. But if you get it mostly there and just keep scrunching your hair in your hands like this until it does get dry, you'll bring out a lot of your natural curls. Yeah. The product goes a long way with that. The diffusers are kind of magic. They just take forever. And just like the other side, this section right in front of the ear, I'm doing all these curls back away from the face. So another mistake a lot of people have is they try to kind of make their curls look exactly how they envision them right as they curl them. And what you really want is for them to look way tighter than you intend to. So as you can see on her hair, she looks a little ridiculous. You got the wand curls here and the flat iron curls here. It looks like basically it's just a hot Shirley Temple mess. But once you bring your hands through here, and just really like big pitchfork like this, or a giant brush, you break all these babies up so that they blend out. And if your hair does not hold a curl, sometimes only breaking up around the root and letting the end stay tight will help you out a lot with that. Because the root is really the part where you get all that separation and you really want it to look normal. So here we go. And you can see these are the waves from the curling iron. So a little tighter, they have a little bit more definition in them. And these are the waves from the flat iron, they're a little smoother. The hair itself is laying down a little bit nicer and a lot more on the beachy side. If you have naturally curly hair, using the curling iron can help give you more of a natural look. And doing it back and forth like that. And then right here can give you more of like that beachy, smooth vibe, especially if you deal with frizz. Doing a flat iron curl is a better way to smooth out your hair. Ashley Cox, that name sounds really familiar. Have I met you in the salon?
No, I don't think so. But it'd be awesome if you could come to Portland every morning.
Come help you guys out. And as you can see, like even when I did this side with the curling iron and this side with the flat iron, my brain keeps wanting to call it a hot stick, please. I don't know why. It blends out really well whenever we break it all up because the curls are essentially shaped the same way.
Okay, I have a question.
Please.
So, like every time I get my hair done, like my stylist does this and it looks cute for that day. And then I come home and I try to do it and it's like a mess, so I just give up. Should I just keep practicing since I'm doing it to myself?
Honestly, practice. It took me a solid like 2 weeks to get this down. So
like now we have time. I think I should practice it because like I like the way it looks, but like I would just get angry and upset and just say I'm just gonna wear my hair straight.
It also makes a big difference what type of products you're using because some people's hair, it's easy to weigh it down. So you may be one of those people who just needs a thermal protectant and that's it.
Okay. Well, I have plenty of time to practice now, so.
Might as well get in there, right? Yeah, it's like keeping small sections, keeping enough control over the hair, because an easy way to get frustrated is if you try to take random pieces and curl it. That's pretty far. That'll if you're trying to curl your entire head, you're gonna want like quarter-size sections, and if you just work from the bottom up, it'll be muscle memory.
I think for sure I was doing too big of sections because I was trying to rush through it too. So I'm gonna practice.
I'm really guilty about that too, honestly, especially on my own head. But now that I've got her hair curled enough, I guys can show you when your hair is wet. If you scrunch it like this, you said that you mostly diffuse it, and your hair scrunches when you diffuse it. But if you lose patience, you can, while it's drying, scrunch your hair up to your scalp like this.
Yeah, the diffusing makes bigger curls. If I don't and I just let it dry, I got a bad 80s perm. So.
Yeah. And then once it's dry, once you get like enough of your natural texture in there, if you're trying to go for that, have a look over it If you're having trouble with that, if you're having trouble making it look exactly how you want it to, scrunch it, get it to where you want it to, then just have a good look at your head and see which pieces frustrate you the most. And then like wind those pieces around like a really thin, like a 1/2 inch or 1/4 inch barrel like this. And it'll blend out with the rest of that texture as long as you break it up. And that way you can have like, you can have half natural hair and you won't have to go through all the trouble of curling everything.
Cool. Do you put any product in there after you're finished curling it?
Typically, yes. So I usually I use a little bit of this before I go in, and then I use it again to set everything. I also use a hairspray, which I am admittedly out of right now. I'm waiting for my shipment. But it just depends on their hair, because some people don't like hairspray at all. If they don't like hairspray, I set them with a little bit of the glossing spray because it's very lightweight. It's you can build on it and you won't feel it in your hair. So protecting against humidity and just sort of setting these curls is a good way to do that. Just use this before and after you're finished. Because anti-humectants in general, especially in Texas, are a go-to. Glossing is great, honestly. I go through it so fast, though so does my husband. Does anybody have any?
What does he do with it?
Same thing I do. He has very fine blonde hair, so it helps him to keep control over the frizziness when it gets humid.
I'm totally my husband to that.
Well, I mean, well, the same thing with most guys. They think that they need a pound of product.
Mine's wishing for a pound of hair right now.
Are there any alternative recommendations for, sorry, I didn't catch the last part of that.
Are there recommendations for these products other than the ones that you're showing us, maybe at the grocery store or CVS or something like that?
So it's hard to say for glossing in particular, just because it's sort of a unique product, but I think there are definitely some anti-humectant thermal sprays. I don't have a name brand in particular because I've really been with Aveda and Unite for so long. But they're just look for a, honestly, just look for anti-humectant. Yeah, absolutely. And I'll email you guys tomorrow with a link to all of these products. Unite is having a 30% off sale right now because of the quarantine, which is really rare for them. So if you guys are wanting some products from Unite, it's a good time to stock up. And I'll just let you know what everything I used on her and send you a link if you are if y'all are in need. And always feel free to reach out for me if you need any recommendations or if you're stuck. You can just email me. I'll help you through it.
After I got my big box of product, she actually texted me what I was supposed to do with all of them because I am clueless.
It takes a long time to get used to, because I mean that's the only trouble with Unite products. Unite products are fantastic, but they are professional, so they all do something different.
Awesome. Do we have any other questions? Okay, so Kayla, we'll get the email addresses for everyone that registered or registered. Sorry, I've been in work mode all day. It's happy hour. RSVP for this. And then Friday, Elizabeth Elias is going to teach us how to be fancy at home. The next Wednesday, Kayla is back to help us teach us how to do a messy bun. And then I suspect that Ms. Leslie Moore is going to teach us how to sew buttons and hems in the upcoming weeks. I texted her because my husband has to sew my buttons on for me when I pick off, and she's the only person I know that knows how to do that. So I messaged her while we were on here because I am desperate. It happened twice in the last week. So I'll be getting that info to everyone. Kayla, you're the absolute best. I heart you. Thanks for continuing to do this for us. I'll get you everyone's contact information, and good to see everyone. Have a good rest of your day.
Thanks for joining me, guys.
Bye, y'all.